Tony, my search for a new head of sales role is coming up on the 7-month mark. So this person's been looking for 7 months. Not uncommon at that level. I'm ashamed to admit that for the past several years, I neglected my network, and now it's not working for me. What do you recommend I do to reconnect and engage with people I used to know and who once knew me? Let's answer that one, but I want to underscore what I'm reading between the lines here, which is there's something passive about this moment where maybe there's a passivity among many executives when it comes to their search. And I'll let you take it from here. Let's talk about networking and how to reconnect with your network.
So first I want to say, stop beating yourself up. You know, you beat yourself, you said you were ashamed to admit. Well, I have to say that most people do the exact same thing. I wish I could change that. I mean, in the 08 recession, I had a lot of people asking me to help them find jobs, and these were the people that actually used to be the ones paying me to find people. And I noticed that some people are always in demand, no matter what the economic climate was, but the majority of the people, you know, they're kind of left standing without a chair, or they needed a new job and now there wasn't one right there. So as I dug into having conversations with all these sides, with both sides, I realized that it was probably about 1% of the people that were always in demand, and those were the people actually that never let the networking thing slide. You know, not just networking, but paying attention to what's out there, educating themselves on the next thing, never getting heads down or thinking it's never going to happen to me, but always being prepared. So that's actually what started me on transitioning out of or transitioning into trying to help people understand how to keep their marketability alive as they get to the top layers of the corporate roles. And, you know, I think it was JFK that said, the time to fix your roof is when it's sunshine outside. So now we know what the right thing is to do. Now you also know that you're not alone, so there's no reason to be ashamed. And I have excellent news for you. It can be easily fixed. Because when I look at why some people, well, one data point we know is that the data point we covered already, 85% are going to get a job through network. The other data point, it's probably not going to be a first degree connection that gets you in the door at the more senior levels. It's most likely going to be a second or third. And if you're wondering why that is, it has to do with the shape of the org chart, but we could go into that another time. So when we look at why some people are so much better at turning their second and third degree connections into opportunities, we found that it really has nothing to do with how big your network is. It also has nothing to do with how well your network knows you. You're concerned that you may have let your network slide by the the last several years. Well, you'd be surprised how many of those people anyway aren't even relevant. They're either in the job or retired. So you might have been working very hard at that and had none of that really come to fruition. It actually has more to do with the message. What we found is that when you're communicating with people, let's just say verbally communicating for now, the message of, hey, I don't know if you heard about that big reorg that just happened. I got orged out, so I'm looking again. This is kind of what I've done. This is what I'm looking for. Let me know what you hear. It really doesn't work. It doesn't work at this level. But what does work is a more value-oriented message. So a message that's focused around the problem you solve. So in case you're wondering why that is, because the reason that 85% of professionals at 200K and above are not going to get their next job through a job posting, that they're going to get the job through network, is usually because the position doesn't really make it as far to a job posting. A lot of times, you see job postings and those are kind of the leftovers, after the fact, meaning, even as a headhunter back in the late 90s, if I had a position that I needed to fill for a client, and it was, or there was a position that needed to be filled for a client, and they called me with it that was 200K and above, they'd maybe have talked to a couple of people already. And now, if that position makes it all the way to headhunter, let alone job posting, which is even usually later on in the process, they've already talked to 20 or 30 people, because they can go out and search you on LinkedIn if you're optimized to be found on LinkedIn. This is both an inbound and outbound game with your second and third degree connections. And then even if they do find you on LinkedIn, now they're still going to have a conversation with you. Now they're going to get on the phone with you. And, a lot of the landing interviews that I've done lately, I've found that they didn't know them very well. Some of them were completely random. One, the other day, it was actually a fourth degree connection. Somebody connected to somebody, connected to somebody, connected to somebody. Didn't have anything to do with how well they knew him. It had to do with the message, because when you talk about the problem you solve, it actually sticks in the brain in a certain part that waits to get triggered when it hears the need. So it doesn't get triggered until then. And if your need is about a job, it's only going to get triggered when it hears the job. And then you're already that far into the process. It's already gotten that far. What we want to do, and what we coach, probably 75% of our coaching is spent on this with our members, is getting you into the conversations earlier in the process, when they're still thinking, we don't even know what we need yet. We don't even know what we need to do. We don't even know what we're looking for. This is the problem we're having. Oh, have you talked to Tim Smith? No, who's that? He does that work. He works in that whole world. He knows that industry really well. And then he starts talking to him, and then pretty soon he's guiding him through the process of the types of things he needs to do. So what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to write all that solution down and say, now I'm going to build a job description with it and go out there and try and hire some random strangers by posting a job on LinkedIn? No, they're first probably going to say to Tim, so how much would it really cost for you to just come in here and do this for us? Maybe they get them, maybe they don't. Maybe they have to take it to the next level. So do you know any other people like this? And that's where this value conversation really enables you to get the introductions, and not only the introductions, because people like you, they'll introduce somebody to you even if they can get over their fear of looking stupid because they don't even know what to say. But even if they could do that, the reality is, what are you going to say when you get that conversation? So that's why that value conversation becomes such a trigger to turning your network into jobs.